Coming up on this Monday edition of Daybreak, former First Lady Lee Hee-ho has pushed back her planned humanitarian trip to North Korea due to concerns about her health. Narrowing their differences on a number of contentious issues, Korea's rival parties give themselves 2 more days to pass next year's budget bill. Plus, thousands of Hong Kong pro-democracy activists clash with police as they try to surround government headquarters. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Monday, December 1st. Here in Seoul, I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to Daybreak. And we start with that news that former First Lady Lee Hee-ho has postponed her scheduled visit to North Korea to next spring. South Korea's Yonhap News Agency reports that doctors have advised the 93-year-old widow of late President Kim Dae-jung to delay her trip due to concerns about her health and also amid the cold weather we are experiencing here. Both Koreas recently gave the visit the green light, but the exact timing hadn't been confirmed. There had been concern in South Korea that a trip in the coming days could have been used for political purposes by North Korea, as Pyongyang will mark the 3rd anniversary of former leader Kim Jong-il's death in mid-December. Meeting with President Park Geun-hye in October, the former First Lady expressed her wish to visit Pyongyang so she could donate hand-knitted hats to North Korean children. A North Korean defector claims North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's aunt, Kim Jong-hee, died of a stroke during a heated argument with her nephew over the execution of her husband, Jang Song-taek. CNN reports that Kang Myung-do, son-in-law to an ex-prime minister, said Kim Jong-hee suffered the stroke while she was arguing on the phone with Kim Jong-un, a matter of days after Jang's execution. The defector said she was taken to hospital, but later died. North Korea experts say that while the claims could be true, they are almost impossible to confirm. Kim Jong-hee has not been seen in public since Jang's execution late last year, sparking rumours about ill health or her possible death. The Japanese government has reportedly demanded the removal of statues in Seoul and California that were put up to remember the victims of Japan's wartime system of sexual slavery. Citing diplomatic sources, Korea's Yonhap News Agency reports that Tokyo requested the removal of a statue in front of the Japanese embassy in Seoul and the other in Glendale, California, which you can see there. This in an apparent bid to pressure Korea to make the same effort as Japan to settle compensation and other issues affecting the victims, the majority of whom are Korean. The request was made during recent high-level talks on this issue with Korea in Seoul. Korean officials said it's not up to the government to intervene on this matter, as the statues were put up by civilians, and that Tokyo should instead settle the issue in a way that's acceptable to the victims. Now, after sorting out the majority of contentious issues hampering passage of the budget for next year, Korea's main rival parties agreed on Sunday to extend the budget review period with the hope of passing it by the legal deadline of December 2nd, which is Tuesday. Our Chae Yu-sun reports.
Less than 24 hours before hitting the legal deadline for reviewing next year's budget bill, Korea's 2 main rival parties agreed to give themselves until December 2nd to finalize negotiations. According to a new law, the parliament is legally bound to pass the 2015 budget by Tuesday, and after the review deadline of midnight Sunday, the government's $340 billion budget plan will be submitted for a vote. Both the ruling and opposition parties are aiming to pass the bipartisan bill on Tuesday while getting rid of the government version of the budget. If the parties manage to do this, it will be the first time in 12 years the parliament will have passed the budget by the legal deadline. On Sunday, the Budget Committee explained there just wasn't enough time for the parties to finalize the bill. The opposition party boycotted the parliament last week over the central government's cost-sharing plan for a free childcare program and a proposed cigarette price increase, as well as the party's own demand to scale back corporate tax reductions. While the two sides have set aside the major points of contention, they still need to reach agreement on the government's economic revitalization plan and welfare bills. Meanwhile, the parties are in a dispute over tax-related bills to be attached to the budget, which will also be put to a vote on Tuesday with or without bipartisan agreement. Choi Yu-sun, Arirang News.
Now, in around 10 days' time, leaders from the ASEAN member countries will be here in Korea for a very special summit. It's being dubbed the most important diplomatic event for Korea this year, and it's expected to take Korea's ties with ASEAN to the next level. For a look at the current state of relations between Korea and ASEAN, Hwang Sang-hee reports.
Since establishing dialogue relations in 1989, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations has become one of South Korea's most important partners. Trade volume with ASEAN jumped 16-fold from some $8 billion in 1989 to $135 billion last year, making ASEAN Korea's second-largest trade partner. The region is also the #3 investment destination for Korean businesses, after the United States and China. Korea invested $3.8 billion in ASEAN, accounting for over 12% of Korea's total overseas investment last year. Korean builders received the second most construction orders from ASEAN last year, worth more than $14 billion. Ties are not just limited to economic cooperation either. ASEAN is the top tourist destination for Koreans, with some 5 million out of the 14 million outbound Koreans heading to the bloc last year. Korea received nearly 1.6 million visitors from ASEAN countries, which was the third largest number after China and Japan. That number is expected to grow, thanks to Southeast Asia's love for Hallyu, or the Korean wave. Some 330,000 people from ASEAN countries live in Korea, making up a quarter of foreign population in the country. These include workers, married migrants, and students contributing to Korea's economic development and to its transition into a mature, multicultural society. And the Korea-ASEAN Commemorative Summit, set to take place in Busan on December 11th and 12th, is expected to further boost their strategic relations. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
And it's that time of the newscast where we get a look at the global headlines that we're following this Monday morning here in Seoul. For that, we turn to Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. Thousands of pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong have clashed with police near the heart of the financial district. Demonstrators were trying to encircle the city's government headquarters on Sunday night, but were pushed back by police using pepper spray to disperse the crowds. The confrontation remained active into the early hours of Monday. The protesters chanted, "Surround government headquarters and open the road," as they try to reclaim Lungwo Road in Admiralty District. That major road had been cleared by police more than a month ago. Clashes in the working-class district of Mong Kok had resulted in 28 arrests over the weekend. This as a group of British lawmakers have been informed by the Chinese embassy that they would be blocked from entering Hong Kong if it was a trip part of an inquiry. Chair of the UK's Foreign Affairs Committee, Sir Richard Ottaway, had said his committee was examining his country's relations with former colony Hong Kong that has been stalled by pro-democracy protests since September, calling for free elections in the 2017 chief executive polls. Voters in Switzerland have overwhelmingly rejected a proposal to curb the flow of immigrants into the country. 74% of the voters voted no in Sunday's referendum, blocking a proposal that would have cut the country's net immigration to no more than 2/10 of the Swiss population and required the government to reduce immigrants by up to 16,000 people per year. About 23% of Switzerland's residents are foreign nationals, mostly from from EU countries. Supporters of the measure had said the move would help preserve the country's resources, as Switzerland had seen its population grow by over 1 million in 20 years. People against the move had said it would be bad for the economy. December 1st, that's today, is World AIDS Day, and ahead of it, people around the world are raising awareness under the theme of Focus, Partner, Achieve, an AIDS-free generation. In India, which had the world's third largest number of people living with HIV a year ago, students plastered walls with posters and the symbolic red ribbon in a campaign organizers said was aimed at eliminating the virus from the country. India accounts for more than half of all AIDS-related deaths in the Asia-Pacific region. Meanwhile, in South Africa, activists in a township outside of Johannesburg say the government needs to do more to educate and prevent AIDS from spreading. South Africa has the highest number of HIV/AIDS cases in the world. And there is still no cure for AIDS. There are an estimated 35.3 million people living with the disease. It has killed 36 million people globally between 1981 and 2012.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
Now, a big day in the world of finance because a direct trading market for the Korean won and the Chinese yuan will open this morning, and the market launches in a little under 3 hours' time. Following a successful test run of the transaction system just last week, the new trading market is expected to drastically cut transaction costs for exchanging the two currencies. Up until now, local banks had to convert their Korean won into US dollars at home and then change them again to the yuan in Hong Kong. Korean government officials also expect the market to boost efforts in developing a hub for offshore yuan transactions. The market will be open every weekday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with 12 banks, including Shinhan, Uri, and 5 foreign banks in Korea taking part. The opening comes following an agreement reached in July between Korean President Park Geun-hye and her Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. The Korean labour market is about to see a major shift in the coming years. Without some drastic measures to turn things around, it looks like a projected labour shortage and also an increase in low-wage jobs could become inevitable. Our Kim Ji-yeon has this report.
There's going to be a labor shortage early in the next decade, with the number of available jobs surpassing the number of those seeking work. This will be the result of a sharp decline in the number of job seekers who are part of the baby boom generation as they exit the labor market. This, according to the Hyundai Research Institute in a new report. It's referring to people born right after the Korean War between 1955 and 1963. The group numbers more than 7 million people, or nearly 15% of the total population. The report also says there'll be a sharp increase in the number of low-wage, low-skilled jobs. It projects Korea will have high employment elasticity, which means more people will be offered jobs despite small increases in industrial growth. Employment elasticity measures increases in employment when the economy grows by 1%. The report says Korea's employment elasticity will shoot up to 0.6 points in this decade from 0.2 points in the late 2000s. The institute also projects there will be a jump in the number of students who work while they're in school, as well as job increases in the service sector. The report suggests the need for policies to resolve the projected labor shortage, and in particular, policies designed to help people balance work and family and work and school, in addition to increasing the number of temporary positions available to workers heading into retirement. Kim Jong-il, Arirang News.
Now, trams are not a common mode of transportation here in Korea, not yet at least, but that could be about to change because local researchers have developed a mini tram that gets you from A to B without the need for either a driver or rails. Connie Kim reports.
A mini train approaches a depot soon after a passenger presses a call button. And without a driver, the vehicle runs automatically and can accommodate up to 6 passengers. It's a domestically developed unmanned compact train called the mini tram. Instead of running on rails, the tram recognizes magnet platforms placed every 2 meters along the road, which enables it to correctly calculate its route. Another feature is its vertical mobility function, implemented for the first time ever, which allows a mini tram to be used inside large buildings as well. It can be recharged wirelessly in just 2 minutes while waiting at a tram stop. The Korea Railroad Research Institute plans to speed up development of the technology with hopes of commercializing the mini tram by 2016.
We expect the mini tram to be implemented in large facilities such as Incheon International Airport to carry passengers from the terminal to the parking lot.
Mini trams are currently in operation at London Heathrow Airport and Masar City in the United Arab Emirates. Now, many are curious to see how the locally developed mini tram might change our daily activities here in Korea in the future. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Solar power is the biggest and fastest growing sector in the renewable energy market, as it's expected to become an affordable but also feasible alternative to fossil fuels, which are of course very bad for the environment. Korea is making increasing use of solar energy, but is Korea going to be a global player? For this week's Industry Insight, here's our Song Ji-sun.
This is the biggest solar power plant in the capital that started operating this summer. It's equivalent to 13 football fields with a capacity of 5.6 megawatts, enough for 2,200 households a year. Solar energy is rising as the next generation of renewable energy here in Korea, accounting for 98% of all renewable power plants built in the first half this year.
This solar panel system has been set up on the roof of this water filtering plant, and we have completed a couple of other solar power facilities like this for the Seoul metropolitan government. It's fully operational even on cloudy days and only takes 3 months to install and operate.
The market for these solar facilities is booming in Korea, with most being built by government or public agencies. Over the past decade, solar energy has emerged as the world's biggest source of renewable energy, overtaking wind power. Last year alone, it created half of total electricity generated from renewable energy sources. This prospective market is forecast to expand by 10% each year by 2030, with China and India likely accounting for half of the global demand. By then, the cost of generating electricity from solar power is expected to reach similar levels to burning fossil fuel, meaning it could become more widespread without the support of government subsidies, as it mostly depends on that at the moment. The biggest competition in the industry comes from China, which produces 80% of the global demand at prices 20 to 30% cheaper than Korea.
Backed by government support, Chinese companies have been producing well over the market demand, with half of the world's top 10 solar panel producers based in China. It's not easy to counter them in terms of price, so Korean firms must improve their cost efficiency, at the same time revving up quality and technology.
Around 40 players are in Korea's solar power generating market, with small and mid-sized companies focusing on solar cells or modules, while large conglomerates aim to tackle the global market by equipping a complete chain of production to service.
We've established a value chain from solar component production to system maintenance, and we aim to expand the solar power generation infrastructure to even include households.
Industry experts point out that it's crucial that the government takes steps to speed up the growth of domestic solar power market. To expand the economy of scale and improve profitability, the government must ease regulations concerning installation. They also point out the government must provide financial aid to companies seeking projects overseas to help them win more share of the world's non-fossil fuel energy market. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off in Incheon months after the Asian Games took place. Now, with so much money invested in the event, the huge deficit is a concern, and now there are talks about selling the stadiums. With the city of Incheon investing over 1.7 trillion won, or roughly $1.5 billion on the 17 Asian Games infrastructures, the city is looking at some major debt problems. And while there's reports that the city is looking into selling the infrastructures to make some of the deficit, and while talks of Incheon possibly looking into hosting the 2028 Summer Games, one official stated that it's nearly impossible with the current financial status. And now shifting over to Japan, where the Hanshin Tigers are getting worried about losing pitcher Oh Seung-hwan to the major leagues despite having another year left in his contract. The 32-year-old closer, who finished his first year in Japan, had the most saves in the league and even finished fourth in the MVP voting. And now the Hanshin Tigers are worried about him leaving to the States, with one official stating that they're expecting more major league scouts set to come to watch him pitch. Although major league teams have shown interest in Oh Seung-hwan in the past, he opted to play in Japan before making the big move to the majors. Staying in baseball, but back here in the nation, where KBO free agents are getting richer and richer with each year. But a recent signing over the weekend proves sometimes it's not always about the money. The now former Lotte Giants lefty Chang Won-jun recently rejected a deal worth 8.8 billion won, or roughly $7.9 million to stay with the Giants, and was even rumored to be getting a 10 billion won deal, or nearly $9 million from the Hanwha Eagles. But over the weekend, Chang Won-jun signed a 4-year deal worth 8.4 billion won, or roughly $7.5 million with the Doosan Bears. But the latest Doosan Bears signing stated in an interview that he felt there was a better future ahead of him with the Seoul-based team, hinting there's a better chance at winning a championship with his new team. Now, while one player is looking forward to his new future with the new team, the 2014 K-League Classic season officially ended on Sunday with all 38 matches being played. Now, with the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors winning the league title weeks before and Suwon Samsung Blue Wings clinching second place with a large margin, FC Seoul squeezed in a 2-1 come-from-behind victory over Jeju United on Sunday to clinch the final ACL ticket and a chance at the ACL playoffs. Meanwhile, the two teams getting relegated this season will be Gyeongnam FC and Sangju Sangmu, the military club, as they finished 11th and 12th, respectively. And now finishing things off, but staying in football, after the New York Red Bull were eliminated from the MLS playoffs, legendary striker Thierry Henry played his final match as a professional athlete. A fearsome striker and a fan favorite here in the nation, Thierry Henry finished his career after his latest match against the New England Revolution. The French international scored 51 goals and 123 caps with the French national team and won 23 trophies in his illustrious career. Now, despite playing with 5 different clubs throughout his career, he's mostly known for his days with Arsenal, where he scored a staggering 175 goals in 258 matches. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Well, December is kicking off under freezing condition. The current temperature here in Seoul is at about 3 degrees Celsius, but it feels below freezing mark. Well, that's due to darkness and strong gusty winds. In fact, strong winds advisory has been issued in many parts, including here in Seoul. Also, morning commuters in the capital areas are advised to leave early this morning as the snow flurries are expected in many parts. Now, accumulation of less than 1 centimeter is expected in Seoul and the surrounding areas till noon, but up to 10 centimeters is expected for Jeollado provinces throughout the day, but skies should remain mostly to partly sunny. With that, here are the readings for today. Now, as we can see, there shouldn't be a big difference or any difference between lows and highs today. Low in Seoul starts out at 3, then the afternoon temperature remains at 3, while Daegu and Gwangju peaks at 7, and Busan will top out at 10 this afternoon. And as for the other regions, Jeju Island will be getting up to 9, while Daejeon and Dokdo sees highs of 4 and 5, and Mount Keungang will be freezing. Now, be sure to dress warmly before heading out today. And that's all for Korea. And here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, those are the stories we have for you at this hour. There's plenty more online. Korea Today is coming up in about 30 minutes' time, and we'll be back throughout the day with many more news updates. Goodbye.